Imagine driving down a perfectly paved road that leads to absolutely nowhere. Street signs still standing, houses still intact, but not a single living soul for miles. That is the reality of some of the most haunting, forgotten, and genuinely jaw-dropping places scattered across the United Kingdom right now. These are not ruins from ancient history. These are modern ghost towns, abandoned within living memory. And some of them you could literally walk into today. Stick around because number 4 on this list genuinely sent chills down my spine when I first found out about it. So, what actually turns a thriving community into a ghost town? Sometimes it is military decisions. Sometimes it is industrial collapse. Sometimes it is a disaster so catastrophic that people simply never came back. The UK has more of these places than most people realize, and today we are counting down 10 of the most incredible ones that are still standing, still eerie, and still largely unknown to the general public. Let us get into it. Number 10. Tyneham, Dorset. This one kicks off our list perfectly because it is probably the most poignant ghost town on the entire British Isles. Picture a small rural village nestled in the stunning Dorset countryside, the kind of place that looks like it belongs on a postcard. In 1943, during the height of World War II, the entire population of Tyneham was given just 1 month to pack their belongings and leave. The British military needed the land for training exercises, and the villagers were told it would be temporary. They left a note pinned to the church door, asking the military to treat their homes kindly and promising they would return when the war was won. They never did. The military kept the land, the village fell into a slow and quiet decay, and today, Tyneham sits frozen in time, partially preserved as a kind of open-air museum. You can still walk the streets, peer into the old school, and feel the weight of that broken promise hanging over every crumbling wall. Number 9. Imber, Wiltshire. Here is another village taken by the military, and the story is almost identical in its heartbreak. Imber sits on Salisbury Plain, and in 1943, its residents were also evacuated to support the war effort. American troops needed somewhere to train for the D-Day landings, and Imber was the sacrifice. Unlike Tyneham, Imber is not generally open to the public and remains an active military training area. A few times a year, the gates open and visitors flood in to see the church and the few structures still standing. Walking through Imber on one of those rare open days feels genuinely surreal. The village exists, but it belongs to no one who actually lives there. Number 8. Mardale Green, Cumbria. This one is underwater for most of the year, which immediately makes it one of the most dramatic entries on this list. Mardale Green was a small farming community in the Lake District that was deliberately flooded in the 1930s to create Haweswater Reservoir, supplying water to Manchester. The villagers were relocated, the buildings were demolished, and the valley was filled. But here's the thing. During periods of severe drought, the water level drops enough that the old walls, foundations, and even the ghost of the old road system begin to emerge from the water like something from a nightmare. It happened most recently during the hot summers of recent years, and when it does, people travel from across the country just to stand where a community once lived and breathe the strange, muddy air of a place that should not exist anymore. Number 7. Downray, Caithness, Scotland. This one is a little different because it is not a historic village but rather a former nuclear site that created its own little community around it, and that community has been steadily winding down for decades. The Downray nuclear facility was a groundbreaking experiment in fast reactor technology during the Cold War era. An entire support town grew around it. Now, the site is in a long, slow process of decommissioning, and the surrounding area has lost much of its population and purpose. Downray is a ghost town in slow motion, still technically active in a decommissioning sense, but the community that once buzzed around it has quietly dissolved. Number 6. Hallsands, Devon. Oh, this one is genuinely heartbreaking and also maddening when you know the full story. Hallsands was a small fishing village on the Devon coast that was essentially destroyed as a direct consequence of a bad government decision. In the late 1800s, shingle was dredged from the seabed right in front of the village to supply construction materials for the expansion of Devonport Dockyard. The villagers warned that this would expose them to the sea. They were ignored. Sure enough, the beach that protected the village eroded dramatically, And on a single stormy night in January 1917, the sea crashed through and destroyed almost every building in Hall Sands. The ruins still cling to the cliff face today. You can see them clearly from a viewing platform on the coastal path above. They serve as a permanent reminder of what happens when communities are dismissed by those with power. Number 5. Capel Sealan, Wales. This is perhaps the most politically charged ghost town in Wales and arguably in the entire UK. Capel Sealan was a Welsh-speaking community in the Tryweryn Valley that was drowned in the 1960s to create a reservoir supplying water to Liverpool. The decision was deeply controversial. The Welsh people fought it vigorously. 35 out of 36 Welsh MPs voted against the bill, but it passed anyway through the sheer weight of English votes. The flooding of Capel Sealan became a defining moment in modern Welsh national identity and helped fuel the growth of Welsh nationalism in the following decades. Like Mardell Green, in times of drought, the remnants of the old village occasionally surface from the water, and when they do, it reignites the pain and the politics all over again. Number 4. Oradour-sur-Glane is in France, so let us instead give number 4 the story it deserves with Sutton Bank. Wait, let us talk about the island of Hirta in the St. Kilda archipelago off the coast of Scotland. This remote cluster of islands was home to a community of people who lived in almost complete isolation for thousands of years. By 1930, the tiny remaining population of just 36 people petitioned the British government to evacuate them. Life had simply become unsustainable. The young people were leaving, disease had taken too many, and the community could no longer function. The evacuation happened in August 1930, and the islanders took their cats and dogs and what little they owned and sailed away forever. What they left behind is extraordinary. The stone houses, the ancient cleats used to store food, the church, all of it still stands on Hirta today, maintained as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. St. Kilda is one of the most remote and extraordinary ghost town experiences on Earth, and the fact that it is still right there, perfectly preserved against the wild Atlantic weather, is almost unbelievable. Number 3. Skara Brae, Orkney. Now, some people might argue this one belongs more in the ancient history category than the ghost town category, and fair enough, it is Neolithic, meaning it is around 5,000 years old. But hear me out. Skara Brae was not just a ruin left behind by time. It was a living, breathing village with stone furniture, storage areas, passageways connecting the homes, and clear evidence of a sophisticated daily life. It was buried under sand for thousands of years and only revealed after a violent storm in 1850. The village is so well preserved that you can look down into those roofless rooms and see the stone dresser still standing against the wall where someone left it 5,000 years ago. That is a ghost town in the deepest, most profound sense possible. A community suspended in time by an accident of nature. Number 2. Witton Gilbert Colliery Village, County Durham. The post-industrial ghost towns of northern England tell a very different story from military evacuations or natural disasters. They tell the story of economic abandonment. When the coal industry collapsed across the north of England through the 1980s and into the 1990s, entire communities built around collieries simply lost their reason to exist. Rows of houses fell empty. Shops closed. Young people moved away in search of work and never returned. Some of these villages never recovered. Witton Gilbert and places like it across County Durham, Northumberland, and South Yorkshire became living demonstrations of what happens when an industry dies and no alternative ever arrives. Some of these settlements are not entirely empty, but they function at a fraction of their former vitality, caught between being alive and being ghost towns in a way that is arguably more tragic than outright abandonment. Number 1. Dungeness, Kent. Before you say it, yes, people do still live in Dungeness, a small number of them. But hear me out on why this earns the top spot on this list. Dungeness is one of the most surreal landscapes in the entire United Kingdom. It is a vast shingle headland dominated by 2 nuclear power stations and dotted with an eclectic collection of huts, shacks, converted railway carriages, and fishing boats. The artist and filmmaker Derek Jarman famously lived here and created his extraordinary garden at Prospect Cottage. The light here is unlike anywhere else in England. The wind is constant. The sense of desolation is total. Old fishing equipment rusts quietly among the pebbles. Abandoned structures sit alongside inhabited ones with no apparent pattern. Dungeness feels like a ghost town that never quite finished being one. It is part lived in, part abandoned, part art installation, part end of the world. Nowhere in the UK generates quite the same existential unease, and that is exactly why it tops this list. So there you have it, 10 ghost towns scattered across the UK, from the bottom of reservoirs to remote Atlantic islands, from nuclear wastelands to post-industrial valleys, each one carrying a story of loss, displacement, and the strange, stubborn persistence of the places we leave behind. What strikes me most when you look at all of these together is how many of them were not accidents. Tyneham, Imber, Hall Sands, Capel Sellin, Mardale Green, all of these communities were erased because someone with power decided that their existence was less important than some other goal. And the physical remains of those places still carry that injustice in their stones. If you have ever visited any of these places, I genuinely want to know in the comments what it felt like to stand there. Ghost towns have this remarkable power to make history feel immediate and personal, in a way that museums and textbooks simply cannot replicate. You are not reading about loss, you are standing inside it. And if this video sparked your curiosity about the hidden and forgotten places of the UK, you should absolutely check out the video coming up next on this channel about the most mysterious abandoned buildings in Britain, because some of those stories are even wilder than the ones we covered today. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it when it drops. And if you learned something today, or if this list surprised you even once, hitting that like button genuinely helps more people find this content and discover these extraordinary forgotten corners of the country. Until next time, keep exploring the places that other people walk straight past.